exploration. He initiated a lot of the mapping and setting out of trading posts toward the interior. The next governor who was as important as Wrangel and Baranof was Ethelyn, E-T-H-O-L-E-N. Ethelyn was, now in 1809, Tsar Alexander had taken over Finland, the Grand Duchy of Finland, from Russia. And however, he didn't make it part of Russia, unlike the territories that Peter the Great had taken over, Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, Ingria, Karelia, and so on. Peter the Great had made them part of Russia proper, although they had integrated it in many ways. That's why you have a bolt like Wrangel. These men would serve in the army, but their allegiance was not sworn to the Russian Empire, but to the Tsar. It was a personal oath to the Tsar. So they would defend the interests of the Tsar, including in Poland, where that attempt didn't work out. But they had given part of Poland they took over in the same sort of strategy, but the Poles rebelled. In Finland, what you had was the old Swedish nobility had been pressured by this centralizing tendency of the main regime in Stockholm. And there had been actually plotting with Catherine, for example, for Finland to be taken over. The Finns didn't know anything about this. This has been done by the Swedish nobility. So, anyway, and then you had others. So you had, in addition, what the Tsar did was to keep Finland as a Grand Duchy under the old Swedish constitution, which was not exactly democratic, but at least you did have a parliament. There was a four-house parliament: the House of Nobles, the House of the Burghers, the businessmen, the House of the Squires and the landed gentry, and the House of the Clergy. And if you can imagine how a four-house legislature made up of specific interest groups operated, it really didn't function very well. And one of the members of the House of Clergy, one of the bishops of the, always wanted to have the death penalty for cussing. If you took the word of the Lord in vain, you've got to be strung up. Somehow he never managed to get the agreement of either the businessmen or of the nobility. So, but anyway, eventually it got so complicated that they agreed on a one-house legislature, but that was about 1905. Anyway, this is Governor Ethelyn. He was a Finn. A number of places are named after him. His family came from Hamnet province, from Hetola, which is where the name comes from. And however, his father had moved to Helsinki and become a burgher, that is a businessman, a magistrate, and had risen in the ranks. And he married a wife of a Helsinki merchant, but he didn't remain in school. He became a sailor still in his teens, and he rose in the ranks of the Russian Navy. He took the navigation examination and finally finished subjects for a career in the Navy. He volunteered in 1817 for the Baltic Fleet and in 1817 sailed in the sloop Kamchatka under Captain Golovin, and who was involved with the Russian-American company, and spent the rest of his life in the employ of the Navy and the Russian-American company. One of his compatriots was of course, Captain von Wrangel, the Estonian bull, and being, of course, in position in Estonia and part of the nobility there, Wrangel spoke 7 languages, including Finnish, of course. The Estonian language is very close to Finnish. Estonians can understand Finn. The Finns say the Estonians talk too fast. That's the main difference, I think. They leave the traditional endings off the word, even though they also use 16 cases. But anyway, while in Alaska, he signed up for a 5-year agreement committing himself to service in the colonies. And it afforded him, well, it was much more exciting and everything like that. It was also paid better. And he got involved with the trade. He was charged to locate sites where trading posts could be set up. He took hydrographic measurements, collected information about the indigenous people, established trading relationships with them, and Ross, he helped establish Fort Ross. In other words, he did the legwork and helped set it up there, and the other thing. So during the second charter period, he participated in 2 long expeditions, one in 1821, another in on the orders of Governor Murarev, was to find the define better the shores of the Bering Sea, and during the first summer he commanded his own ship. He was then commander, and then surveyed the coast of North Bristol Bay to Stewart Island, Norton Sound, Hagermeister Strait, Nunavak Island, and the nearby mainland. Ascend the Nushagak and Kuskokwim rivers as far as he could, only a short distance. But anyway, they got a great deal done. And he demonstrated his adroitness in trade. He sailed into California he couldn't get enough grain, so he sold the fur seals in Southern California. He accumulated enough money to go to Hawaii and purchased an armed ship with a cargo of foodstuffs. He bought the whole ship and the cargo and everything. And he sailed that back. It was the American ship, the Arab, but it got renamed the Baikal. And he was, that sort of brought him up in the ranks. And he was a navigator in the Russian Navy, and then he also collected a lot of artifacts that were given. A lot of the artifacts that he collected were destroyed in a fire in Turku later in, 1827. He got the only known surviving